Welcome to Season 1, Episode 6 of Pennsylvania Tavern Talk. I'm your host, Chuck Moran, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Licensed Beverage and Tavern Association. At the state capitol, Representative Dan Miller says he's going to introduce legislation to create mobile driver's licenses and mobile state IDs. In today's episode, we're going to take a closer look at that issue and what it could mean for Pennsylvania's family-owned small business, taverns, bars, and licensed restaurants that we represent at the state capitol. That's coming up next on Pennsylvania Tavern Talk. Now, let's talk about those mobile IDs. First, as our members know, not all forms of identification are created equal in the eyes of the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, and only a few forms are acceptable at drinking establishments like we represent. Certainly, you want to check IDs if you want to protect yourself from serving an underage individual, or if you're required to check IDs. According to the PLCB, there's nothing in the liquor code or PLCB's regulations that require patrons to possess a valid form of identification when they're in a drinking establishment, such as a bar, tavern, nightclub, club, or any other type of licensed establishment. However, there are exceptions. And furthermore, as I just mentioned, it's always a good practice to card patrons to avoid unintentionally serving someone who may be underage, or if you're required to do so. Let's stop there just for a moment. Before we get further into this issue, be sure to subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and smash that button to be notified of new content from us. Now back to the show. As I was saying, there are two exceptions when it comes to mandatory ID scans. The first exception is if you have a wine expanded permit. If the person looks like they're under the age of 35, you're required to scan their ID. The second exception is if you have a CLA, there's a good chance you're going to be required to scan all IDs as the individual comes in. So what's an acceptable form of identification? If either you're required to check or if you just wish to add that extra layer of protection so you accidentally don't serve a minor. Pennsylvania Liquor Code makes it clear that a valid driver's license or identification card issued by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation or any other state is acceptable in a drinking establishment. In addition, a valid U.S. Armed Forces identification card or a valid passport or travel visa that contains the holder's photograph can also be accepted. Act 39 of 2016 also added Canadian driver's licenses or other legal Canadian identification forms, such as their passports as well. Enter Representative Dan Miller. In early January 2023, Representative Miller sent out a co-sponsorship memo stating his interest to introduce legislation to give Pennsylvania's nearly 9 million licensed motorists the option of downloading a digitized state driver's license. That would be done through a mobile app offered by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Representative Miller says, and I quote, "It also embraces the reality that fewer and fewer people are carrying the traditional wallets or purses and instead are relying on digital methods of payment that can occur safely through the use of their phones. The app does not eliminate the driver's responsibility to have a hard copy of the license, but allows for a modern method of showing proof." You know, he's onto something there. If you own an iPhone, go check out the wallet function. Chances are your credit card's there, maybe your AAA cards, some loyalty cards. In fact, as of today, Arizona, Colorado, Maryland allow their digital driver's licenses to be on the iPhone, and they can use that at certain airports at this point. And there's rumors that there's up to 30 states that are either working with Apple or producing their own app to create a digital driver's license. Anyone who has ever used Apple Pay through their Apple Wallet understands how easy and how safer it is to use your credit card at a gas pump or a restaurant through that app. We could do an entire show on reasons why bars and taverns and licensed restaurants should accept Apple Pay, but we'll save that for another day. Getting back to Representative Miller, seems to me that he has a good idea, and let's face the facts, that's the future. So, what could this mean for Pennsylvania's family-owned bars, taverns, and licensed restaurants that we represent up at the state capitol? It might mean their current ID scanner isn't usable. They have to have a way to either manually enter the information or to scan it. And that could become an expensive item to repurchase for these small businesses. And that's our message to the legislators. If this issue gets legs and moves, don't let your mom and pops out there to dry. They've been struggling in recent years. They've been put in a hole. I've been hearing for the past couple years that they're feeling squeezed. You have inflation driving up the costs. You have pandemic regulations that really limited their revenue streams. You have outdated liquor code, and you have legislatively created competition. Representative Miller is onto something, but it could be problematic for smaller businesses that just don't have the funds right now to upgrade their ID scanners. Plus, it might be helpful to have clarifying language in the liquor code to saying digital IDs are acceptable. The Pennsylvania Licensed Beverage and Tavern Association does not have an active position on this issue at this moment, but we're watching it because it's important to our members. And if it does get legs, we'd like to see some type of fund set up to help small businesses upgrade ID scanners so that they can easily accept digital driver's licenses. And of course, language stating digital state IDs are also acceptable at drinking establishments. Our members can't afford to turn away a patron because they can't scan a digital ID and the patron isn't carrying a hard copy of their ID. Now, tavern members, we're going to keep you in the loop on this issue and others through exclusive member-only communications like On the Fly. Non-members, it's time for you to be part of organized taverns too. Help your industry have a louder voice at the state capitol by joining today at www.pataverns.com. Again, that's www.pataverns.com. And when you do, you'll unlock other benefits to help your industry and your future. Until next time, I'm Chuck Moran, wishing your glass is always full. Taverns out.